Hi, David. Hi, Luis.
Hello.
Yeah, just waiting a couple of minutes for people to turn up. I know Akash may be sick today, so we'll see if he'll be able to join. I'm seeing if Eric will be able to join today.
Sorry, I was here. I was just grabbing some lunch late. Heard you in the distance.
No problem. Is there anything exciting for lunch?
Not really, just leftover stuff.
So Eric just let me know he's in a incident, like they have he's quite busy with the incident since
Okay.
this week. So it looks like us. So let me share my screen again. Yeah, so I'll go through the pull request quickly. So we have some dependabot update. I think they're all safe to merge. So I can take care of these after this meeting. I think the interesting one is, I guess, cosine. Like sometimes when I need to check if this version bump is, does it have any breaking changes since we don't have any coverage for cosine. So I'll be able to take a quick look there based on their documentation. If there's no breaking change, then it's safe to merge.
Yeah, I mean, if they're following Simber, that shouldn't break anything.
Okay, yeah, because it's
Yeah, it's a
.0.
.1. Yeah, if it was like 1.13, then yeah, I would check it, but I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Yeah, we're gonna need to do like a test for the release anyway. So I think it'd be good to get all these in and then go ahead and fire off our end-to-end tests.
Yeah, so let me bring up our validation scenarios for the release.
How often does Dependabot run on each build?
I would think it runs every day, but I'm not sure what I'm not sure on if it will update for every version.
I see.
Like for example, the AWS SDK config, right? Like it's bumping the 17.5 to 17.7. So what happened to 0.6? Like maybe they didn't release 6, but I'm not sure if it's dependable missed one or not. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and there's a ton of dependencies with Ratify. So it's Dependabot's pretty active on the project.
Yeah. Like the Kubernetes library, we have coverage in our end-to-end test, but for like AWS SDK, we probably don't, and requires manual validation before we release.
I see.
So David, what do we plan to do about the AWS validation?
Yeah, we need to probably ping Jimmy and see where he's at, because I know he was on the call a couple weeks ago, I think, and said he was going to have some infrastructure or something like that. But yeah, I mean, we'll see if we can, what kind of timeline he may have to test stuff, and if he would, if that's going to be a while. I mean, we might discuss like releasing and doing a point release or something if something's broken, but I guess we need to reach out to him first.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, it's not in scope for us to spin up an AWS account and test stuff.
Yeah. Should I just tag him in the Ratify Slack channel?
Yeah, I would. Mm-hmm.
So how often, like for instance, let's say, I guess he should be the best person to sort of approve the merging of the AWS Dependabot PR. Like how much are we able to hold in some of these dependency upgrades?
I mean, this is something we can work out with him, but I mean, since we're still in an alpha state, I mean, I think, until he has gotten us some automation behind the thing, I think, we should have some window of just being able to update and not wait for him. I mean, he's done for months now that's something that we need.
Right. I guess a question here would be like, how do we know out of all of these like Dependabots PRs, like we are forced to take? For instance, like if there's a security thing that we need to take right away, like is there like priority amongst these prior Dependabot PRs, or how do we know which ones are critical?
Yeah, I mean, you're basically asking for an analysis of the Dependabot updates, and
right.
there really there isn't that without doing a bunch of manual work.
I see.
Luis, the security updates, they would appear as a security item in the GitHub repository. So then if I think like they will prompt us to take an update from that tab. So it's security updates will appear as a separate item in a different window.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, and I would say like longer term here, I mean, we want to definitely add in secure supply chain best practices, having an SBOM, vulnerability scanning, those kinds of things, which would give you more details and analysis of where are the vulnerabilities and the types of vulnerabilities and things like that. I think at least kind of the approach we're having now is just accept all the things and then do testing pre-release and then fix stuff if things are broken. Is kind of the approach we have for now. And obviously, as we add in more testing, that'll help us with higher level of confidence for different things. But yeah, that's where we are now.
For the AWS dependabot PR, I think we can tag Jimmy, say that we'll give it a week, and if you don't hear back, we'll merge. Is that reasonable?
I think so.
Okay, and if it breaks, it's in main. If we can fix it, we can revert it. It's not the end of the world, so it's fine.
Yeah, I can tag him in the PR.
All right, sounds good.
Sajay, is the chat window working for you?
It's fixed.
Okay.
It is working for me.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's a problem with how I've shared the window. So I've only shared the browser window, so
right.
that have blocked, or other application may have blocked parts of Zoom, and yeah.
I think it does the right thing. It's just a trick to kind of like make the projected screen smaller, so you still get real estate on the right. I do that. I connect like.
Yeah, that's what I did, and closed a bunch of like Teams windows. Okay, cool. So we have documented the manual validation scenarios before the release. So it's this section here in releases.md. So just to go through the list again, does this matrix look good to everyone? Are we missing anything? So we've got the list of auth providers and the cosign verifier.
This is for manual validation that we want to move, right? We want to automate this, or what's the next step for this one?
Yeah, so this page serves two purposes. Like, yes, we need coverage. We should ideally have coverage for all of the more coverage as possible. And the other purpose is before release, we go through this list. Since we don't have coverage now, we need to do manual validation before we release.
Okay, this is more like a release checklist.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. As long as it's not a PR checklist. I think for PR, we need to kind of like enable automation to some extent.
So for PR, we have the notary verifier with the anonymous pool enabled registry.
Okay, sounds good.
I have to double check on the cosign verifier. I don't think we have valid coverage on the cosign verifier. This may be a typo.
So sorry, just two more questions on there, Susan. So the plan here, like who will be running this while they get automated? Like, is this us?
Yeah, it'll be us. It'll be whoever have bandwidth. So I can take this item, but then I'll like slow down a little bit on the coding for the CRDs.
I see.
I think it'll take about just a few hours. I just need to get everything set up again.
And we would have like, you would probably add more steps in like what they intend to entails, right?
Yeah, I'll try to add more notes. Maybe like more detail for each step, like what does the Azure auth provider, like what does the configuration look like? What does we have documentation on them, but we don't have.
I would say I would think it's something useful here would be kind of have steps sort of like the CI logs like what you would be doing, like, hey, create this, or like set up this, or modify this config.
Yeah. It'll be good to have the configuration available, because every time like we'll have to manually edit the config, it'll be easier just to copy paste the block.
Right. Yeah, and hopefully we can move to automate this relatively soon after.
Yeah, unfortunately, so like the two things we're blocked on is like the Azure subscription that we need to talk to the upstream team about. Anything else that's blocking here? So the Docker auth, we need to spin up like a local registry, and then we configure auth on that. Like that way we can validate the Docker config, or we can have an Azure registry with like admin user and password enabled.
I think spinning up the local one will serve two purposes. It'll enable the E2E testing also, if you can automate it later, right? So without needing more resources. My vote would be to do local distribution, and that way people can test it quicker and it won't be dependent on yet another network resource.
Yeah, so I have created an item to track that. David, do we want to pull it into beta?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it's pretty important to as we keep, especially with all the Dependabot PRs, if we can test those like every one, like once a week or something, or you know, more regular with the PRs, that would be great.
Okay, I'll send you the link. Like, is it something I have permission to do, or like do I have...
Yeah, you do, but I can go ahead and update it right now if you want to move on to your items.
Okay, yeah, I don't know the issue number, but I'll try to...
I'll find it and do it right now.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. So hopefully like one of us would be able to pick it up, and then we'll have some coverage here.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the other reason this will start becoming important is because we also have now the CSC team gonna start contributing to the code base. So we either need to make sure we either run this or have them run them. And so in order for them not to break any of our stuff.
Yeah, do we expect them to join the community call from time to time?
We should invite them and ask them, yes.
They have I believe they're on the meeting invite, but I'll double check.
Yeah, maybe, I mean, we can talk to them and maybe make them like part of the agenda as an update of where they are, for the whole community to just know. I don't know how much of that is they can share to community, or like, I guess everything can be shared because they're really working on public repos. So providing updates there should be maybe we should make that a part of the agenda once in a while.
Yeah. So you mean like they will start attending, and then there will be like provide a update on the PRs?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they probably don't need to come to every one of them, but maybe have them come like once a month or something.
Yeah, or whenever they have when they have a PR to present.
Right.
Yep, sounds good. Cool.
So I posted in the chat a link to an issue that is kind of generic. I'm wondering if we can just repurpose that one, because we don't really have, I don't think we have an item that is explicitly covering these scenarios that are there for manual integration.
Yeah. I want to see if we have let me have a look at the description.
There's one more, which is for local registries. I just posted that one, but I think we need to explicitly have one for these other use cases. And then your integration one, that's why I don't know what else you had in mind, but in my head, it's really just covering those gaps that we have for the end-to-end.
Yeah, so issue 284, the description is like set up a local private registry in the test cluster to add coverage for auth providers.
Right. So that's part of the scenario, but not all of them, right?
Yeah, part of the scenario, like one category of the scenario.
Right.
And the other one is 145. Yeah, this one is more broad, but I prefer tracking the more specific items so that it maps nicely to the engineering task.
Well, what did you have maybe more in mind for this one? Yeah.
This one, I remember there's some other projects. I think it could be the CSI provider, could be the gatekeeper project. They have like a nice chart at their GitHub repository that tells you, like, they have like little ticks next to each scenario. Have you seen that before?
No, I don't think I know what you're talking about there.
Yeah, I think like I saw that and I was like, oh, it'll be nice to have something similar to that. Like they have like the status for each scenario kind of for their main branch.
Yeah, I okay. We don't have to do it now, but I guess if you paste a link to what you had in mind, that would be good to know, because I still don't know what you mean by that.
Yeah, I think for now, like we can include 284 into the beta milestone because that have like a specific item that we need to spin up a private registry on the test cluster. So then all the auth provider, like most of the auth provider scenario, excluding the cloud specific ones, would have coverage.
Okay. Yeah, and then maybe I can just create a new one then for the other scenarios.
Yep, sounds good. I think the only other one is the cosign verifier.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I will do the manual validation and hope for release next week. Does that sound good, David?
Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah.
And do you know if Xinghe waiting is waiting to use this release, or like is he going down the managed identity path?
I don't think he's blocked on our release, so I think it's okay for now. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. The next agenda I've added on the list is like reviewing some components after we integrate with KubeBuilder. So I have updated the design doc with this box diagram. Can people see it clearly, or should I zoom in a little bit? Is there a way to zoom in just the diagram, or it would just be like zooming in the font in the browser?
You could, try, the browser is fine. Yeah, that works.
Okay. It's still pretty small, but can you read the text?
Yep.
I can read it, yeah.
Okay, cool. So after the KubeBuilder migration, part of the code gets auto-generated. So main.go contains code for starting the CRD managers, and this will also be the entry point for us to spin up the HTTP server. So the previous entry point is through the Ratify serve command, and if we're running in the CRD mode, then I'm proposing for the main.go to start the manager as well as the HTTP server. And in the logic for main.go, they start the manager, and the manager initializes the CRD controllers, and there will be one controller per kind. So for us, we will have the verifier controller and the store controller. And when a customer, like when they issue a Kubernetes command, like create this notary verifier resource, the reconcile method gets invoked in the controller. And currently in my like proof of concept implementation, I have a map of resources. So like, because main have a reference to the controller, and main spins up the HTTP server. Every time the HTTP server receives a verify call, main.go will grab the latest resources from the controller, create an executor, and pass it to the HTTP server. So every validate call would have the latest verifier and store. So that is like the flow that I currently have. So I just want to see if we have anyone have any feedback on the design. Like once we integrate with the CSE proposed changes, like they're proposing a layer called orchestrator, like I think there will be some like other changes going into main.go, but before their change, this is the layers. Any questions?
Is this any different from any standard CRD?
No, this is I got this simplified diagram from the Cube Builder architecture.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of what I'm assuming. So I don't have any concerns. I don't know enough to have a concern, so I think we should leave it to folks who know this thing.
Yeah, I will check with Eric again to make sure like this is an okay pattern, because in the controller, I'm maintaining the map of resources, right? So like when replace and delete gets called, like I always hold on to the list of active resources, like for example, the list of verifiers. And then I pass this to the HTTP server on the validate call, like on the verify call.
Susan, is there a scenario where you could have like let's say two verification resources with different configs? Where one might like seems like you will always get the latest set of configs. So I don't know, I'm trying to think like, is there like and this kind of goes with back to how do the verification policies look like, right? Is there like, I guess that's a scenario, like is there a scenario where you can have two different sets of verifications with different configs being called by Ratify?
So on a verify call, we will, let's say there's one artifact.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's only one verifier that can validate that piece of artifact. Luis, are you asking if two verifiers can validate the same piece of like signature or?
Right. I don't know. I'm trying to think the scenario. Let me give me some time now. I'll think more about this. But
okay, yeah, we can like have the list of customer steps.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then we can see like if the workflow breaks in any way. But my understanding is currently one artifact will be validated by one verifier.
I see. Okay.
Sajay just posted a message. The store cache. Sorry, maybe. Oh, sorry. A cache is sent a message. Will it recreate the executor even if there haven't been changes to the custom resource? Trying to see how this might affect recreating the RS store object every time. Yeah, so the store controller would have a list of the store resource. So they're not recreated every time. So when HTTP server verify gets invoked, we just pass the reference to compose the executor object, so it doesn't get initialized every time. Okay, cool. Yeah, Akash is sick today, so he's typing. Yeah, I'm just reading Sajay's message now. The store cache might need to use some kind of persistent store. Do we have a store cache today, Sajay? We have a built-in store.
Right. We need to probably back that with something like a persistent volume or something. I don't think right now restarting the CRDs will trigger a refresh. I think it's okay. We can add the caching later because it'll be easier to change once the new implementation is in place. That's my guess at this point. Akash, does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, makes sense to me. I got it.
Muted, I think, yeah.
The store cache is the artifact cache. And currently they're in memory. And Sajay, you're saying we, like in the future, after the refactoring to align with the OCI spec is done, then we'll think about the persistent store for the artifact cache.
Right, because it's very similar to, like, we probably need some kind of cache that doesn't go to the registry each time we update a configuration, because it'll blow away the whole thing, right?
Yeah, so once the store, like if there's an event on the store CRD and it's an update, let's say the auth provider changed.
Right.
Do we want to blow away everything in the artifact cache today?
I think we'll cross that bridge once we change the design, is what I'm thinking.
Okay, got it. So like think about redesign this after.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, so the main components today, like that I'm updating today, is the main and the controllers. And manager is like a generated layer, like there's no code to write in the manager layer right now. Like it's responsible for like leader elections and internal Kubernetes things. And I haven't looked into the webhooks yet. And I've looked into testing the controller. I'm just going through some examples, but it looks like the test for the controller, like they'll spin up a separate client for the test Kubernetes cluster, and then they will create new resources, and then they'll get the resources to validate the state of the resource. So I'm currently not sure how the controller test will validate the internal variables to the controller. I guess I can schedule some time with Eric to see if he have to review this design again, and also see if you have any insights to how to test the controllers themselves. Yeah, so that is everything I have about this diagram. Any other feedback? Okay, yeah, that's everything I have on the agenda. I'll just quickly add to the notes. To document like the next release, but I cannot find the edit button. Is it this? No. Okay, I'll try to make a note later. But David, I just want to double check with you. What release are we going for? Is it 1.2 alpha 0.1? Let me bring up the tags again. So our latest release is v1.1.0.
Yeah, I I have a little bit of regret of the 1.1 because Simver, if we go backwards to 1.0.0 alpha.2, technically Simver, you're going backwards. But I kind of rather correct that issue because when we release 1.0, we want to not have 1 release out the gate. So My preference would be one dot, I mean, and I have that listed, 1.0.0 alpha.2.
Okay.
Even though that technically is backwards from 1.10 alpha 1. I think you know, we had the issue, like Sajay created the 1.0 criteria a while back and we met all that. So that's kind of part of the reason why we jumped to 1.0. And yeah, I mean, Simber, when we made changes from 1.0 to 1.1, it technically was a significant update. That's where we added the policy work from Eric. But yeah,
I'm not specifically following the what is the proposal? What do we want to release?
so my proposal is to just go to, if you scroll up, they have the version there, Susan.
Yep. Where do I see
Oh wait. Oh,
beta or?
oh, it's actually in milestones, I believe, or maybe it's, oh, should be.
So we haven't released the 1.0, right? So is there?
No, yeah.
Okay. So we
Yeah.
can tag it. So going through this whole OCI taught me a bunch of these things. I'm thinking we can just tag it as a beta 1 or an RC1 at some point in time.
Yep.
But it's only a
Yep.
criteria, right? So we're not, we haven't broken any sim version yet because we haven't released anything at all.
Yeah. Oh, I see. I have 1.1.0 alpha.2 is
Okay.
what I have.
You can just do one. Yeah, you can just do 1.10. I mean 1.0.0. 1.0.0. That might be.
Okay, so we can, yeah, that's fine. So just do 1.0.0 alpha.2.
Right.
I'll update the milestone to that.
Okay. I'm just gonna type it in the.
Yeah, I mean, it's here. I'll post the link. It's right here. I just updated the milestone name.
Okay, cool. Got it. I'll do the validation and then I'll know to use this tag if there's any, like if we update the charts, I'll update it to this value.
Yep.
Yep, sounds good. Yeah, that's everything on the agenda. Sajay, David, Luis, anything else we should talk about?
Just,
and Akash, feel free to type.
yeah, and so I just wanted to check in. Akash is picking up the concurrency work right now, right?
Yeah, I mean, he was on the TLS for the external data provider, but
Okay, fine.
yeah, I'm just wondering if it would make sense
I can probably pick up both, David. I can pick up whatever one you want me to do first. I can do. Yeah.
Yeah, I just know that the CRD work is, I mean, there's a lot there, and I'm just wondering if, like, we bump up priority for the end-to-end testing work, and then also the release stuff. I don't know if, like, if Susan were to work with you on the release and then prioritizing automating the end-to-end tests, might make sense. I don't want to randomize you too much. So but I feel like that would then help us for all the work that we have in with the CSE stuff, and then all of our releases, our dependabot updates, and all those other things. If we can, like, kind of prioritize some of the automated testing work.
Yeah, I can pick that up. I haven't done too much for the MTLS yet, so I can move over to that.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that sounds good. So maybe like just work with Susan on this release for the manual parts, and that way you know what she's doing for the testing pieces, and then, like, after we get through the release, then you're fresh of mind of what needs to be automated.
Yeah,
Sure.
I can have a sync up with Akash.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Yeah, and I'll fix up the board and then reflect that on the board. So okay.
Yeah, sounds good. Anything else, anyone? Or a good, take care, Akash. I hope you feel better soon. Yeah, hope to see everyone next week.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.